Hello, everyone. Greetings from Philadelphia. My pleasure to be invited to the Climate Week. My name is Yumin Su, and I'm a diplomat of water resources engineer for the American Academy of Water Resource Engineer. And also, I'm the vice director at the State Key Laboratory of Sitka Sand Resources Utilization. I was born in China, and I have started and worked on stormwater stuff in the United States in the last 20 plus years. And more importantly, in recent years, I was pleased to work closely and get involved in Sponge City project in China. Today, my topic is about China's Sponge City initiative and international collaboration opportunities. Well, in my presentation, I will start by sharing a peek into the ancient history, and then I'm going to introduce to China's Sponge City initiative. I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and also talk about the international collaboration opportunities. Lastly, it's going to be the summary. Let's start the presentation back to thousands of years ago. Apparently, we do not have the time to go through and appreciate the beauty and the wisdom in the ancient time. Water and stormwater are essential subject to be managed wisely, and we need to do that for thousands of years in order to survive. Showing here on the left bottom is a 3,000-year-old pipe discovered near Beijing City, China. While on my right, very similar, is some ancient Mesopotamia pipe taken during my trip into the Penn Museum. They are very similar and actually similar to even the modern pipes we currently have today. Similarly, same thing here on this slide, more than a couple thousand years ago, before the invention of concrete and the capability of making very large diameter pipes, fan bricks were used in ancient cities to manage the water and drain the stormwater. Those technologies actually are still widely used just about 200 years ago in Philadelphia. Really not long ago, urbanization occurred in many parts of the world. China apparently was one of them and exceeded most other countries' speed. As well as an area like Dubai, which shown this picture of the conference right now at. It's amazing how fast things have been changed in the human history. To further give you an idea on this change of the urbanization, I would like to show a chart of concrete consumption versus GDP. The curve here near the bottom is called Kuznets curve, which usually sees an inverted U-shaped curve where developed countries and the poor countries usually consume less per capita, while higher consumption usually in the middle GDP countries. But there are two outliers. One is China and one is Saudi Arabia regions. This urbanization in this area are so rapid and cause increase of concrete consumption dramatically. So it's common that we tend to forget things when we do something very quickly, especially in the last 30 years of fast urbanization. In China, for example, the culture of respecting water, the ancient wisdom on stormwater management over thousands of years no longer being carried. There are too many cases that the city was built in such a rush with poorly designed drainage system, like the one showing here on the right, taken from Nanjing City of China. The poor water inside the city wall, which was built 600 years ago, is still working amazingly well. However, the modern road next to it are apparently not well designed. We used to have like astonishing ancient stormwater culture, but now we are negligent in most recent couple decades ruin things very much. So what's next? We have like large impervious areas in the cities. Well, the drainage are undersized or even like not designed. So also we have been like designing drainage to get the water off the site as soon as possible. This is not correct. Not a sponge city I'm going to talk about in my next few slides. Actually, 2/3 of the cities in China have been like flooded in recent years. I also want to point out the two major flooding events worth mentioning. One is in 2012. A flash flood hit Beijing, killed 79 people. That event, people mentioned that stimulated calls for a Sponge City initiative. Also, last year, a severe rain hit Zhengzhou, killed 300 plus people, and that event caused a lot of discussion, debate on Sponge City versus climate change and extreme flood events. Moreover, okay, everyone here attending the Climate Week, I know we are on the same page about climate change. we know that a more severe, more frequent extreme event will occur. We need to react, and we need to react now to offset the deadly impacts. Well, besides flooding, I want to mention there's a lot of other more things for better needed for stormwater management, like Sponge City, which I'm going to introduce soon. This includes improving the water quality, improving the water scarcity, promoting water reuse and recharge, reducing heat island effect, minimizing hydromodification in rivers, and managing combined sewer overflow in many very old cities. To offset the complicated stormwater issues, we need an integrated solution. This is how China comes up with Sponge City initiative. Let me introduce what we have been done in the last 7 to 8 years. It really started in 2014. China established a concept called Sponge City, which is used to tackle urban flooding and related urban water management issues. It utilized the nature system to achieve drainage, to establish natural detention, natural infiltration, and natural purification like Sponge City. I know the concept may be a little bit complicated, but actually it's different from low-impact development in the United States and different from sustainable urban drainage system in the United Kingdom. Sponge City definition is broader and more complicated. First of all, Sponge City is a change of paradigm. We now emphasize much more on low-impact development, on the green infrastructures, on the resiliency and adaptation to climate change. We also use a lot of nature-based solutions, modern stormwater management, and sustainable solutions. We want to manage stormwater closer to the sources, use smaller structures, and we no longer want to do quick discharge every time. We emphasize more on retention, recharge, detention, treatment, and reuse prior to discharge. Secondly, Sponge City is a requirement or is a goal. About 80% of urban area in China are to be constructed to control 70% of precipitation on site by 2030, which is a requirement by Sponge City. And lastly, Sponge City is a bunch of practices and measures to improve stormwater management site by site, city by city, and special emphasis to promote the green infrastructure. For those of you who are not familiar with stormwater management and the green infrastructure, those are some pictures and examples on what we typically do for the sites. Regarding stormwater management on site level, and we need a lot of guidance. So in 2014 and 2015, that's really the start of the Sponge City. The China Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development issued a technical manual on Sponge City construction, which is published in 2014. That's the start of a lot of construction. And also in 2015 to 2016, there are 30 pilot cities were selected by the central government, and they do some demonstration and studies, and they also got the funding from the central government to do the Sponge City constructions. So they are do some trial and errors. Not just the national pilot cities, there are also a lot of provinces selected their state-level pilot cities. In the meanwhile, some cities react faster, like Shenzhen City, and some you can imagine that are much slower, but lots of projects have been started in most cities in China. The scales ranging from a small rain garden in a community to a large urban park and regional stormwater management structures in the city. So I know you guys want to know the cost, and here are some literature review. And on average, the estimated Sponge City construction cost is about 15 to 23 million US dollar per square km. And there are 657 cities in China, and the total investment after you consider so many cities can be as much as 0.2 trillion to 1.6 trillion US dollar for the whole Sponge City project in China. So apparently there are $1 trillion reform, and you expect something good, something bad, and something really unexpected. So the good thing, the most important advancement of Sponge City to China is that it is the right way to do right things. Sponge City is actually in line with many advanced stormwater management concepts in other parts of the world. For background information, the world has moved towards green, natural, integrated, sustainable, stormwater management solutions. This chart here shows a comparison of sponge city with what's happening in many other countries. China did learn a lot from other countries, and I'm confident sponge city as well as the modern stormwater concept works very well. Second good thing, the sponge city in China is a very immediate action to tackle the threatening stormwater issue and to offset the impact from the climate change. We need enormous investment and efforts to correct a very big problem. And China is actually good at doing this, like what we did on high-speed trains, and we're doing very good job there. Another good news is that more and more good stormwater management projects have been implemented, and very good positive results have already becoming more and more obvious accepted by the public and by the agencies. Of course, when something at this large scale is implemented under various conditions, in a big country like China, challenges exist. We are in short of solid technical support, especially at some very local level, from like managers to engineers, from designers to contractors, from some governors to residents. Last but not least, you pay your tuition, of course, right? On the right side, the picture showing is some failed design or failed construction. On the other hand, the resistance of sponge city still exists. There's also a lot of time, like sponge city takes a lot of blames, which usually shall not be counted towards sponge city mistakes. For example, people after the Zhengzhou flooding event last year, people blame sponge city, but that actually is a more than 1,000 year storm event occurred, and we do have a lot of things to improve, but that's not the correct way. Well, one of our job, or everyone's job, is to turn bad things to good things. Over the last few years, all the water resources engineers worked hard, and we see that more guidance manuals and standards and the drawings are being published. We see more sustainable stormwater management system being constructed. We see a lot of good publications. Also, the long-term performance is being addressed. Very importantly, we have people thinking and working on Sponge City globally. Sponge City is benefited from international collaboration at the very beginning by learning from other countries. And now it's also a good time to share what have been learned in China to the rest of the world. Well, now 80 years into Sponge City initiative, we also see more and more information on the internet. There are a lot of papers being published, and a few countries have mentioned Sponge City in their own media. Everyone is in a climate changing world. It's actually a student. We learn the things, we learn new things, and we need to share what we have learned, and we want to learn and learn together. Sponge City in arid and semi-arid regions. I understand, as I mentioned in the previous slide, Sponge City has multiple goals and benefits. There are a lot of incentives to do Sponge City or something like in arid and semi-arid regions, such as groundwater recharge, water harvesting and water reuse. We always need to do low impact development in urban area, etc. The goal, we need to be in low impact, and we need to be sustainable, and we need to be resilient to climate change, no matter where you live, where you are. That's the bottom line. Just for information, flooding does occurred in China and also in Middle East like last year. Yeah, due to climate change. Just, at the very end of my presentation, just some of the Sponge Cities project I'm currently working on. As you know, I'm from the Celtica Resources Utilization Laboratory, and those are new pavers we designed and developed, which is based on sand. Water can infiltrate into the ground immediately. Also some like stormwater reuse, treatment, harvesting underground structures. Also for information, since this conference in Dubai, we actually also working with our experts and partners in Dubai to do some sustainable irrigation and farming works. So summary of my presentation today. First, stormwater and stormwater are important in Asian cultures, but we tend to forget things. Stormwater no longer properly managed during rapid urbanization. Second, Sponge City initiative since 2014, China has put an enormous effort to offset stormwater issues, which is due to the 30-year rapid urbanization and also the climate change. We have 600 cities. It's using the Smart City initiative, and it's a $1 trillion market. A big effort on big issues. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. Those are all experience, and our job is change the bad to the good. And we also need to be low impact and sustainable. Lastly, we talk about international collaboration. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of opportunities regarding international collaboration. We want to be students to learn together. Again, thank you everyone. And my name again, Yumin Su, my contact information here. And I hope you have learned something new from me, and I'm open for questions and discussions. Also, there are some like reference for beginners or the first timers to read about. Thank you, everyone.